Should begging you to touch and go. Highway to the danger zone. Right into the danger zone.
That's where you're at right now, Sunday morning on the West Coast. A little past noon, 1 o'clock for all my brothers out there on the East Coast and across America right now. Again, if you're in Texas, man, stay dry. I'm looking at the tropical storm advisory on the news right now, and it's just all white and pink and red and yellow. It's just all nastiness, man. A lot of family I know out in Texas. I got buddies out there living outside of Houston. Guys out there stationed at Fort Hood. Just stay dry, man. Stay safe. So I've been out of the Army for 2 years. 3 years, actually. Sorry. Wow, 3 years. But about a year into it, I started working at Wounded Heroes Fund and started doing a lot of fundraisers and getting out there, meeting people with organizations outside of veteran causes. And the one in particular was the Bird and Birdie event, which was a skeet shooting event followed by golf, and it raised money for local organizations. And that's where I first met the guest that's sitting in here right now, Zach Skow. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, man?
And that was a Bird and Birdie event for Marley's Mutts, which is your organization.
Yes, sir.
And Wounded Heroes Fund. And I didn't really know what Marley's Mutts was. One thing about being on social media when I was stationed outside of California in Bakersfield is that I see a lot of different things going on. And so I knew what your organization was. But listening right now, I have a lot of buddies outside of California, a lot of people listening outside of Bakersfield. Do you mind just kind of giving the rundown on what your organization was and what it is and what got you started?
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Zach Skow. I'm the executive director and founder of Marley's Mutts. And, it started out as just a dog rescue. Started out with me in end-stage liver disease, liver failure, struggling to survive. At the time, I needed 6 months sober in order to qualify for liver transplant. I had no plans on being a dog rescuer. At that time, I had just been focused on alcoholism and drug addiction for a long time. And through that, through trying to get better after I got admitted to a comprehensive transplant program, my dogs helped save my life, helped kind of land me into this trajectory of rescuing dogs. Right. And then we've just grown into this, what started out with a bunch of people just saying, hey, keep doing this, man. Why don't you keep doing this? And all I was trying to do was pay back the life that my dogs had given me. And this community organization developed from it called Marley's Mutts, in honor of my pack leader, my right-hand man, my dog Marley. And ever since then, we've grown into what we are now, which is an organization that has 4 parts. Rescue and rehab, which is just rescuing dogs from high-kill shelters, usually in this area, but from China, from India, from Mexico, from Korea, all over the place. We also have a huge educational organization called Miracle Mutts, and Miracle Mutts goes to different veterans organizations, different children's organizations, different cancer organizations, different hospitals, schools, institutions, and we educate. We do humane education and just try and get the word out to educate our next generation to help make this area no-kill. We also do low-cost spay and neuter for our community, so we do about 1,600 spay and neuters a year.
Really?
So we get out there in the low-income, vulnerable populations, and we help do low-cost spay and neuter in mass. And just try to get to, when I first started doing this, we had 80% euthanasia in this county.
What year was that when you started?
I started I started getting involved in this in 2005, 2004, and then I started Marley's Mutts in 2009, about 10 months after I got out of the hospital. And we've just been going ever since. And then now we also have Positive Change, which is our inmate canine training program, and we are live in 4 prisons: Corcoran State Prison, Cal City, Wasco, and North Kern. So we operate dog programs. We have 34 dogs living in prison
right now
in California. Yeah,
like in the prison cell with inmates.
Yeah, so we go in once a week to each facility. We train for 4 hours. We have 3 to 4 trainers go in each week to help. The idea is to train inmates to become dog trainers, right, and to help be there for these dogs. A lot of these dogs are like the one you see sitting here, right, who come in very anxious, very shut down. They all come from the shelter. There's the parallels between an inmate and a rescue dog are very, very similar.
Yeah, it is.
They've been caged up. They've been shut down emotionally. They're lonely. They're abandoned. They're kind of throwaway.
Right. It's a perfect combination.
Mm-hmm. And what it's done, this would have to be an entire segment on just Positive Change to talk about what
we got 2 hours, man, so we're good to go.
Rad.
You can stay as long as you want.
It's changed my life, man. Positive Change has I feel like I found my life's purpose. I feel like because we're working on sobriety when we're in there.
Right,
It's a big focus of what we're doing. We're working on finding hope. We're working on purpose, and those are all things that I can relate
new
to.
beginnings.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And we actually got another guest in with us right now, Rob. Is it Rob or Robbie?
Robbie.
How you doing, man? You might need to get it right up on that mic. That one right there. Yeah, you can pull it towards you if you want. Yeah, nice to join us, man. So how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Yep. So you actually, how did you meet Zach?
So I was just getting done doing a 12-year sentence, and I was looking for a dog because when you get out of incarceration, you feel disconnected from the community. So I ended up getting a dog. So I was reading some of the stories Zach had, and he had a dog named Shadow that was locked in a cage in Ridgecrest with 3 other dogs, and one of them died of hypothermia for being up there in the wintertime, and 2 of them survived, and my dog's name was Shadow. So I adopt Shadow, and it's real, like, it's like magic how when you're so vulnerable at that point when you get out, you don't trust nobody. You come from a world where you had so many walls up, you couldn't let people in. And with the dog, it's like an unspoken bond of unconditional love. When I came home, she was happy. We were having So I get her to the house, and about a month later, she starts spraying up blood out of her lungs. So at this point, we didn't know what was wrong with her. So I take her to the vet, and they run some blood work, and nothing was wrong with her with the blood. So I took her to another vet, and they did an x-ray, and she had a bullet lodged in her lung.
A bullet?
A 40 caliber bullet.
Yeah.
So she had been shot. It healed over.
She had been shot with those other dogs that were in that crate out. Someone had shot him, put him in a crate in the middle of the desert. One had died. The other 2 had survived. We just didn't know they had been shot because there weren't any overt signs that they had been shot.
What? Like they just healed?
Yeah.
What?
But then it navigated into her near her heart, right next to her
About
heart.
like a centimeter from her heart.
Wow. So what happened next? What do you do? What do you do at that point?
I was freaking out. When you just get
There's
out.
no scar and there's nothing. I mean,
it just looked like a flesh scratch wound. It didn't look like nothing was.
It looked like a dog bite, maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he called me and he's panicking. He sent me the videos, and I'm going, what? They could just showing her coughing up blood. So we arranged to have a private pilot, one of our fosters, fly her down to Acton. I was at Cesar Millan's Dog Psychology Center in Santa Clarita. So we got someone to fly her down in an aircraft, and then I couldn't get onto the Acton airport. It was closed. It's a private airport. And so I had to they're in a holding pattern, just flying above with the dogs. I broke into the airport, and they landed, picked her up, drove her to VCA West Los Angeles. They cut her open from her neck down to her privates, basically, pulled out 2 of the 3 lobes of her lungs, pulled out the bullet, soda. It was like $16,000, so we're doing everything live on Facebook, trying to raise money and cover the costs. And
hold on. This story's crazy. How am I not? Okay, so wait, let's just rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
So you hear about it. You manage to get somebody to look at this dog. You're flying a holding pattern over the airport.
Yeah.
You land.
They land. Yeah, I meet them on the tarmac, and
You break into the airport. This is
and
awesome.
speed the dog to VCA West Los Angeles. They're waiting because they've got all the imaging, and they go into emergency surgery, and it was all real hit and miss. And I was scared to death because when Robbie got out of prison, he was kind of like a feral human. He had.
I could imagine.
And he was holding on to this dog. So
it was everything to him.
Intensely, yeah. And when you're in it. Robbie had a tough time making eye contact, a tough time initiating conversation.
Yeah.
Probably similar to a lot of people who circle back from military
I was going to get to that.
The parallels are similar because you have that camaraderie, you have a certain life that you're used to, a certain regimen that you're used to, and and she really helped him engage with the world, helped him talk to people.
And here you're facing a situation where you're going to die. You might die. That's wow, man. That's everything holding on by a thread. Yeah. So the surgery goes down, and
surgery went down well. We didn't know. I mean, it was all up in the air, and then they came out and gave us the bullet and told us that they believed she was going to be fine. She had to stay there for a while because it was a gnarly surgery. I mean, I think she had like 100 and something staples.
Wow.
But
she's scarred. So she's scarred. She to this day she's good to go.
She lives up there with me on the rescue ranch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's got the scars. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a great story. The way to open up this hour. You hit on something important to me that I've been saying for a long time is that in being institutionalized, the military and men and women who served in prison, you're institutionalized. You know, your freedom's taken away. Now, on one hand, you do something bad to get institutionalized, and on the other hand, you voluntarily give up your freedoms. But when you're out of society, in your own world, experiencing some of the darkest forms of humanity, because I can imagine what it's like in prison. It's very similar to I think some of the things we see abroad, and then you come back into the real world. It's hard. It's extremely difficult, and I commend you for making the change in your life, man. Because once you understand that hey, look, I'm different. You know, I've been that man. You come into the real world, and to be able to embrace it and stay sober. You're sober to this day?
Yeah, for over 6 or 7 years.
And congratulations on that, man. I quit drinking in 2015, July 25th, and just realizing those two things, that the fact that I am institutionalized to a certain degree, and then I have a problem with a substance. You realize those two things, and then you can move on from there. So I commend you on that, man.
Yeah, because I want to touch on that. Yeah, it's like it's either one, if you're in the military or if you're locked up, you get programmed a certain way. Like the military programs you to look at life a certain way, and the inmates in the prison program you to look at life a certain way.
Plus, you're always having to look in both situations. You're always having to look over your back or keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, and when you go through traumatic situations like that, it scars people for life, and they really have to work real hard to get up out of that. You have to be very strong-minded to stay strong.
So you and your dog both have scars. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And I think that bond brings you a lot closer, man. So that's awesome, man. Good work on that. $16,000. Because vet bills, even for normal vet bills, they're not cheap, man. No. I got 4 dogs. I got to take them all into the vet soon. They're ready for shots and everything, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that at all. But
we can buy the shots for you and give them to you manually. You don't have to take them into a vet hospital.
Yeah,
we'll cut your cost in fifth.
So that's cool, man. So
one of the biggest things that we strike on with that is that dogs are medicine. You were touching on it on the way in here when we were listening in the car. You were talking about dogs are therapy and dogs are medicine, and they've done so much for me. And with Robbie, our similarities were that I didn't know how to face the world sober. I had no idea. I was scared of people, places, and things. When I got sober, I had never driven sober in the last 12 years. I hadn't interacted with people sober. I hadn't gone to the market sober. I hadn't had sex sober. I hadn't shook a man's hand sober. I hadn't done anything. So I had no idea how to do any of it. And when he got out of prison, establishing connection with human beings, normal people, was very difficult. And not having seen women really in any sort of real capacity in 12 years, and then also interacting with men without sizing them up. And he was quick to get. It was really serendipitous. He was quick to get vulnerable with me, just out of a mutual respect. And he asked me during the course of our interview, when I was interviewing him for the dog, he asked me where I was from, and I told him the South Bay, and that's when he pulled out his forearms and he's got South Bay tattooed on his arm. So we're from the same area, and I knew that minute when he walked into my house that we were going to be pals, and I just didn't. And I knew that we were going to be connected for a long time. I didn't know it was going to be to this extent.
You knew where it was going to go.
Yeah, but I've never had I've always trusted him with implicitly and completely because of how he's been willing to be open since the very beginning, and that's the biggest difference and that's what we try and do in prison, is tap into that emotional part of men.
How's that working out? I mean, how many inmates you got directly working with animals right now?
Inside prison?
Yeah.
100.
100. Now, do they each have their own dog? Or
2.5 dogs basically 2.5 men per dog.
Okay.
So we have 2 primary handlers and then an alternate.
And correction, how did you even how do you approach that? How do you get that going? Do you just go to contact?
We tried getting it going right after Robbie got out. We had met with Tehachapi a few times, and they shut us down. There's some different people at Tehachapi now, and the supervisory staff has always been really, really supportive there. We just had a warden who wasn't into it. At the other prisons, we kind of fell into Karma Rescue was trying to do a program out there. They ended up pulling out, so we slid into their spot, and then developed it our own way. Lisa Porter, who's our head trainer, and Leah Marquez really helped us construct. We have a curriculum, we have homework, we have all of these things designed to help tap into people emotionally. The idea being that you can't be, if you're full of what, and you try and promote false bravado, or you try and promote confidence that isn't there, if you try and promote arrogance, or if you're scared, if you're lonely, whatever you're feeling, that's going to translate through the leash and into the dog. And if you're not honest, dog's not going to listen to you. So you have to really identify what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, if you want to be successful with a dog that's shut down. So that's the whole point, is you got to tap into what you're feeling emotionally. You got to talk about and we openly talk about drugs, about alcohol, about making, alcohol and toilets in there, about whatever guys are going through.
Pruno, they do that?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, man.
But it's important, like what he's saying. These people are going to hit the streets again. In prison, there's really no love. So people need to let these dogs get in there and show them the purest aspect of love, because dogs
unconditional love.
Yeah.
Let's take our first break. We'll come back. We'll get this conversation going. This is fun, man. Way to open up the segment. I appreciate both you coming in and sitting in here. I have so many questions for you, man. I want to talk about no kill Kern. I want to talk more about positive change and what you were just doing on the Hallmark channel.
The Hallmark channel.
It's good, though. It's cool. All right. This is CHADMAN on Danger Zone, 97.7 FM, 1560 AM, KNZR.
KNZR.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good Sunday. I'm a little tired, not gonna lie. I was up late last night. Hanging out, watching the fight with my friends and stuff, and just enjoying myself. And I realized that, being sober from alcohol is one of those things that is not easy. It's a daily battle. And I talk about it. I'm very open about it. I talk about it on social media. I talk about it here on my show. I talk about it when I go on Inga's show. I talk about it a lot, not to give myself any kind of self-admiration or kind of, sound egotistical about it, because I know there's somebody out there listening right now battling with substance abuse. Substance abuse, when it grabs you, whether it's alcohol, any kind of addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, when something has a hold of you, it's extremely difficult to let go. And even when you do let go of it, it's always there. It's always just like there creeping around, man. And so being able to overcome addiction and find something to fill that void. And I think that's what it is, Zach, is you got to find something to fill that void that substance abuse leaves, because it was a huge part of me. That's who I was. And just hanging out with friends last night and they're drinking, we're all together. I don't have any temptations to drink again, but the thought, though, the memories. I had a friend last night, and I think I'm going to be honest right now, and I don't think he'll mind. He had a few last night, you know what I mean? And this is one of my closest friends that when I would get drunk, I'd be, you know how drunk people are. And I don't know what it was, but I found myself wanting to go home because I felt very uneasy. I felt anxiety. Yeah. I didn't want my sons to see him like that, because I think it was reminding me of how I used to act. Yeah, that's part of it for sure. It's also the energy. Everything is energy. When someone's giving off, for me, when I see people who are highly intoxicated, it's just an ingenuine. It's ingenuine. It's like looking at a fake version of them, because that person has left their body, and it's now some intoxicated version that is very ingenuinely them. It's not really them. So you're looking at some. I don't mean to use like mean euphemisms, but for all intents and purposes, a clown version of your friend, right? And it's off-putting. I think definitely for me, I do the same thing. I look at that and I see myself, and I think I get introspective and wonder, man, how many hundreds of times was I like that? And the shame creeps in, and thousands. That's what it was, shame, because I felt embarrassed. It's hard to explain. I just kept asking my wife, "What's wrong? What's wrong? You okay?" Because I remember what I would do to her, not physically, but just what I would put her through. And the fact that woman's still in my life, it's crazy. So, you found that void. And your organization and everything you're doing, that's your void. that... Well, yeah, the first thing, you talk about purpose and you talk about meaning, and the first thing that happened when alcohol was taken away from me, and I was in liver failure at 28. So I started to, in the beginning of 2008, I started to turn yellow. My stomach started to get real big. I started to bruise real easily, and rather than, doctor, I finally went in for a blood test, and the doctor said, "You're dying of liver failure. You need to go to the hospital immediately." And I walked out and I told my dad, "I'm fine. All I need to do is stop taking aspirin, stop drinking hard liquor, just drink during meals," right? Just totally full of it. Denial going on. I couldn't mentally. What I was struggling with at that moment was, if you take away alcohol, you might as well take me, because there is no me without alcohol and drugs. Right. Period. I have no identity. I have no comfort. It is the most agonizing thought, removing alcohol and drugs from my life. I couldn't deal with it.
So when it was taken away, when I got admitted to the hospital, I immediately became suicidal, you know. And when I got released from the but then I quickly picked up Dilaudid and morphine in the hospital. So I got that within 4 days, and then I was just hooked on that and addicted to that for the 2 months that I was in the hospital. And then when I got out of the hospital, I had to go through opiate withdrawal, and then the suicidal thoughts came in.
So it's just a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's when it really came in, because I had nothing. I had no identity. I had no, I was a pretty vain person, I'd say, back then. I had no looks. My brain was clouded. I had ammonia buildup on my brain, so oftentimes I didn't know I couldn't tie my shoes. I didn't know what day it was. I couldn't really walk. I was 140 pounds and yellow. Every person that saw me, you look like the sickest sick person. When people saw me, they took a whole lot of pity, didn't want to interact with me. People in meetings thought I was going to die, so no one wanted to get close to me. It was it was terrible, man. It was awful. And then as soon as I found dogs, man, as soon as I found that light, really what happened was my dogs would look at me every morning like I was the world's greatest human being,
I know the look.
So this one morning I was standing butt naked in front of my mirror, and I had this huge 9 months pregnant belly. I got a catheter stuck in my back. I got all these varicose veins. My belly button's herniated. I got this like yellow, flat old man ass. I'm just so skinny and purple. I just got all these bruises, and I'm looking at myself, and I just start sobbing. I'm like, what happened to me? Where'd I go?
Right.
And I look down at my dogs, and Tug and Marley are looking up at me like, what are we gonna do today?
Just shaking
What's
their head,
going on,
just shaking their tails, just all happy.
On everything. Yeah. They're
don't
looking at me. They don't see how messed up I look. They only see the soul that they fell in love with. They see the dude they fell in love with, and I think that was the shake that I needed, the shock to my system that was like, I'm still in there. I'm still here.
Right.
Because I knew I had the scaffolding of a moral individual. I knew I was sunshine. I knew I had light. Right. I knew I had gold inside of me, but I just you violate your own principles for so long. Like you break your own rules so continually, and how do you not view yourself as a POS?
Oh, I know.
How do you not just latch onto that and be so shameful, just live in your shame? And so finally with the fellowship that I found and with working with dogs, I was able to started journaling, started writing about what I was feeling. And
you did. And I think that's important.
Yeah,
being able to, whether you're writing or talking into a microphone,
totally.
Being able to get your thoughts out.
That's why I dig what you write on Facebook. I know you probably get some flack from people for posting about sobriety, but I think it is spot on, man. I think for one, you're expressing what's inside of you, and that's being the most genuine, creating yourself, honestly expressing yourself, and being creative with what you're honestly expressing is so important in life. And you're damn right. People are watching you and going, maybe I can do it.
There's one, if I can inspire one person to overcome any kind of addiction or any kind of personal problem by being honest about mine, because look, I'm not embarrassed about it.
No, either
the embarrassment has left. Because
I would have been a lot more embarrassed if I would have died of liver failure at 29 years old.
I would have been a lot more embarrassed if I didn't stop drinking and my wife left me, and now my at the time 15-year-old daughter didn't talk to me, and then my son's 2, and I don't get to see his wild crazy ass every day. That's embarrassing. Yeah. So once the embarrassment left, I have nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm open. I'm honest, and when you're open and honest about things, for somebody to come out, and no one's going to come out and say something bad to me about being honest. They might disagree. I do catch flack here and there, but I'm honest. And, Mark Twain said an honest man never has to remember anything. Yeah. And I didn't really know what that meant until recently, because I don't have to remember anything. If someone asks me a question, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. You might not like it.
It takes a lot of the anxiety away from just being.
It does. It does. It erases the anxiety. And so, and at the end of the day, it makes me feel, helps me sleep well at night. Yeah. So let's take a bottom of the hour break. I hate taking these commercials, man. It sucks.
It's all good. We gotta pay the bills, man.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll go pay some bills. When we come back, we'll talk more about what we're going on. And Rob, I'd like to hear your story if you don't mind. You good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Let's come back. This is CHADMAN on Danger Zone, KNZR.
KNZR.
So, Rob, you prefer Rob or
Robbie?
Robbie? All right, Robbie. So, you're not from Bakersfield?
No.
Where are you originally from? South Bay. What is that?
That's like Torrance, Redondo Beach,
okay.
Hermosa Beach down there.
Okay, cool. And what year did you get incarcerated? Feel free to talk about whatever you want. I'm not gonna throw it. You set your own boundaries, man.
All right. So it started off young when I was a kid. I came from a broken family. So I hit the streets looking for love in all the wrong places, you know. Went to the local gang members and started hanging out with them, trying to make money and, you know, live comfortably. For some reason in my life, there was always times where I knew I wasn't, like, meant for that life because I would leave and move. And I never really worked on myself. I just changed my environment, so I got the same results
Every time.
Yeah. So if you don't really work on yourself, you can leave and move wherever you want. That stuff just gonna
It's always gonna find you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually I got caught up, and I was in Oklahoma. My dad lived there, and I got sentenced to 12 years for doing a armed robbery for robbing a drug dealer. And I went into the prison system and got hooked up with all the politics. The drugs are there too. So, you know.
People hear that. You know, people hear that and they see the TV shows, but I heard it's easier to get drugs in prison than it is
Yeah, absolutely.
on the streets.
Yeah, it just costs a little more. So if people have drug addictions, they're going to get their fix in prison. So
That's fascinating to me. That I mean, here you have men and women in prison for doing crimes, and the crimes are still there. It's just there's walls up. That's all it is. It puts them all in one place, and then there's walls up with chains and razor wire. But the drugs are there, the alcohol is there. They make it. The cell phone.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem lately is cell phones.
Cell phones.
Yeah.
How do you smuggle a cell phone into a prison?
We don't want to talk about that on the radio.
Unbelievable. I can't. I mean, with smartphones. You talking smartphones or flip phones?
No,
The
talking-
flip phones, the little flip phones. Some of them might have.
Some of them have smartphones too. There's everything there. They're thinking about bringing in a phone sniffing dog into Cal City.
Phone sniffing dog.
Yeah.
Smelling like lithium.
I guess, man. I don't know what they're looking for.
Unbelievable, man.
Electromagnetic fields, maybe.
I'm not laughing, but I'm laughing. So,
So yeah, I mean, in our prison program, one of the products of having the dogs around is most of our guys are sober for the first time in their bids. So a lot of our guys have been in for 10, almost 20 years. They're our age. I'm 37. So some of our guys have been incarcerated for. Robbie's 36. So I've been incarcerated for almost 20 years in their whole adult life. And this is the first time that they've been sober because they want to bring that genuine energy to the dog. They want to challenge themselves and they want to be successful. And they know they can't do that if they're trying to be of service to this animal and not bringing forth the real them. So it's been real. And the guy, what they've talked about, how freely they've shared about alcohol and drugs in prison has been real interesting. Because I try and exist in a service capacity for these guys and
Right.
answer some, because they don't really have sponsors and all that kind of stuff in prison. And so a lot of what I got to learn about drinking and drugging in prison.
So prisons. I thought that some prisons have like AA type meetings and stuff. They do.
Yeah, the meetings they're good. I mean, but it depends. They have to be sponsored by usually a prison employee. Sometimes guys will come in from the outside. Oftentimes guys will come in from the outside. These are hospitals and institutions through different organizations. But oftentimes, because of sponsorship falls and waxes and wanes, those programs will circulate out. And if people can't make it into the prison, the program dies. So there's a lot of programs that will exist for a little while and then die because they don't have that consistent sponsorship.
Wow. I have a buddy, a fellow veteran, who was going around speaking to inmates and stuff, and he did successful at it for a few years, but he just I don't know why he stopped, but he just stopped. I've always wanted to go do that. I've always wanted to go. I think we were talking about it during the commercial break. I've always wanted to go in and talk to inmates because I can relate. I think combat vets, in particular, out of veterans, you can relate because it's an aggressive lifestyle, man.
Yeah, and
there's vets
guys,
in there.
Yeah,
I know there's vets in there. Yeah, I know a few.
Struggled with society and got put in there, and now they need you, so you need to get out there.
That guy right there in that top left picture with me right now is dealing with some personal issues and stuff, and he's been in and out since we got out. Like you said, he was that opiate addiction got the best of him, and when he couldn't get opiates, he moved on and got something else, and he's just. It's sad because I know a lot of vets that are in prison, and all they're doing is trading one lifestyle for another, and that transition into civilian life just didn't work out. I know how hard it is, man.
If you bring your genuine you and you talk about exactly what you're talking about now, they will love you for it. If you are respectful and real and don't try to be unauthentically you, if you talk about the struggles you're having re-entering into society, those guys can relate to you, because if anyone's lived a combat lifestyle in free America, it's them, for sure. I mean, these guys, a lot of them, I mean, one of our graduates from last year at Corcoran has been shot and stabbed in Corcoran, shot by guard. He's been there for 38 years, shot by guards and stabbed by inmates.
38 years.
Yeah.
Getting out anytime soon?
No.
But
he loved the dog program. Was the most he's laughed his entire incarceration, and it's the only time he didn't think about when we took his dog away. He wanted to go fight somebody. He wanted to go. Didn't know what to do with what he was feeling, and then another inmate told him that what you're feeling is sadness, and that it's okay. He didn't know how to be sad. He needed to go take it out on something. He needed to go be aggressive. But instead he sat with it and he adjusted to it, and that's growth. That's what that is. But if you want to come to Corcoran, man, all you got to do is give us a week heads up. We'll run your name and numbers, and we would love to have you as a supplement, to come in. And the biggest, when I come in there and talk about my recovery and try to create a level playing field, all I'm doing is just being me. I'm talking about being a drunk, being an addict, and being somebody that ran from a lot of things because of fear, because of just a lot of, I just share myself, man.
Right.
And then, and you'd be surprised at how much you can relate to people that look nothing like you, that come from a background completely different from you, and you will walk out of that place 10 feet tall, man.
If there's one thing about me, and Robbie, we just met, if there's one thing about me, I'm 100% honest. Yeah. All the time, 24/7.
That's all they want.
I'm genuine, man. And I had to learn how to be like that, because when I was drinking, I was a liar. And
yes.
When I was drinking and in and out of doing certain drugs and stuff, I'd lie so much I couldn't even believe myself. Yeah. I didn't know what I was saying was true or not. And since I've been sober, I'm just honest. And I've learned that in being honest, you're not going to make everybody happy. You're never going to make everybody happy. But if you make yourself happy, then the people around you, the immediate crowd around you, will be somewhat happy, if not completely.
And guess what? If you're conscious and open-minded, man, if you do something that, in the course of being honest, if you do something incorrect or something that in hindsight you don't feel proud of, you can always take an inventory of yourself and be accountable for what you did. Whereas a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to take a step back and say, I'm sorry. Or maybe I thought I should have done this a different way. And that's one of the aspects of clarity that comes with sobriety, is that if in the process of being you mess up, there's a way to deal with that. It's okay.
I like acting out my apologies. Do I still say sorry to people from time to time? Yeah. My daughter is a perfect example of this. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and every time I see her, I just want to hug her and apologize and say, I'm sorry, because I was such an a-hole, man. Like I was so verbally abusive to her and my wife while I was drinking, coming back from my last deployment. It was bad enough to where she left and went to go live with her mom. And last night we were hanging out watching the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight, and her boyfriend went inside to get a soda or something, and I'm in the garage with just her and my son, and I felt so many emotions going on because I wanted to tell her so much. And I still, even though we talk every day, we text every day, she's listening right now, I want to say so much, but I'd rather act it out. Yeah. I'd rather show her through my actions, and that's hard, because I want to just hug her and apologize, because I let the alcohol and the substance abuse literally control every act, or every act and everything I did. It controlled me, and it's just by showing people through actions that I think.
Because how long did our word mean nothing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, getting your word back to people. My wife is the example of that one, because my word meant nothing to her.
Exactly.
And I think for the most part, call in, let me know if I'm wrong, babe. But I think for the most part, I think my words come back, and it's hard, man. And I commend you, Robbie, because it's a tough walk. It's a tough walk. It's hard. It's difficult.
Robbie's been the best example for me on how to live a little more lightly, because I've taken this world so seriously since I've got caught up in Marley's Mutts, and I got so much responsibility, and I work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I'm always going Mach 3 with my hair on fire, and I don't know how to breathe. And since he's been here, I brought him out from Oklahoma 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago. It's softened me. It's brought. Who would have thought that a violent criminal who served 12 years in prison would soften me, but it's worked, man.
It humbled you.
He constantly reminds me to not sweat the small stuff, and that we're on the right course, and to be in the moment, because I forget about it. The moment's terrifying to me sometimes. The moment is filled with all this responsibility, and I got to be on. We got to drive down to Bakersfield to be on Chad's show, and then we got 2 meetings after this. We got to meet with transport. Then we're going to the shelter. Then after the and I get all focused on that, and then sometimes he can just,
He'll just look at you like,
yeah.
What was that?
He'll just
I'll
say
just say,
something,
bro,
or sir. Excuse me, sir.
But let me take a minute and thank this guy. I was just an inmate, man.
Let's let the love fest begin, please.
I didn't even believe in myself. It took this guy right here, and he gave me a chance. See, something about the inmate history is like the guys that are usually locked up, they've been fighting for things their whole life, like for money, for whatever. He gave me a reason to fight for something positive. Dogs that are voiceless to help them. And so
you've been holding that dog that whole time, and that dog's just been so calm. I almost forget that she's there. That dog's just that dog's in pure bliss in your arms right now.
Yeah, bro. Love conquers everything, man.
It does. It does. I didn't want to embrace a lot of emotions I had for a long time, because I was a little badass grunt. My job was to shoot bad guys in their faces, and I wasn't supposed to show emotions. I would tell my daughter, "Don't cry, don't cry." She'd get sick. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Go take an aspirin, drink some orange juice. I would tell my little girl that, man,
because that means you might have to feel it. If she starts crying, you might have to feel it.
And I didn't want anybody to see my emotions, because I had a job to do, and being soft and embracing sadness and embracing even love to a certain degree, that just was non-existent.
But we realize now that we have to let people deal with these feelings.
You have to.
And even though it's not natural for me and you from the lifestyles that we live, we got to let everybody else around us deal with their feelings.
Because
and
they're not.
And how much more alive do you feel now?
Oh man, I'm. I'm the happiest I've been in a long time, and probably ever in my life.
Yeah, and just alive. Feeling, whether it's sadness, whether it's happiness, whether it's hope, whether it's rejection, whatever, you're feeling it all, and that's when you feel. That's how I, cope with a lot of this stuff, with a lot of the difficulty I struggle with as far as coping with the onslaught of responsibility. Is I remind myself that I am alive right now. I am very alive, and it's all good.
But you know what, though? There's ups and downs. Like, don't get me wrong. If you're listening right now, it's not all honky-dory all the time. I have my downs, and
patterns are worn deeply. Those are ruts, not grooves, man.
I'm telling you, man, my lows are my lows. And when I'm having one, everyone around me feels it. And I feel bad because I don't handle anger very well at all. And even my skydiving buddies, they saw it. Last weekend we had honor flight go.
Yeah, I saw that.
Some of the older cats, the older veterans came and jumped with us, and I was loving it. I was happy. Congressman McCarthy's wife is out there jumping with us. Shannon Grove, everyone's happy. Then I found out I wasn't going to be able to jump, and I got mad. I got angry and selfish, because you see, I don't drink. I don't have any kind of intoxication in my life. My intoxication is jumping out of an airplane, dude. Yep. That and I look forward to it every Saturday. So imagine going to a bar for an alcoholic and then saying, "Sorry, we're all out of booze," and then every bar you go to, you can't have it, or a drug addict
promised a bag of dope and then having it withdrawn. Are you
exactly,
kidding me?
And that's what it was. And I was so angry and mad. And then finally, have you ever met Jeff Salters from Salty's Barbecue?
Yeah, he did one of our events. He's awesome.
And he told me, he goes, "Hey man, service before self." And I have issues with faith, and we don't got to get into that, but he says service before self. And I realized right then, I looked around, and I saw Congressman McCarthy, Judy, and she's smiling. I saw the vets. I mean, these 90-year-old men just jumped out of an airplane. Everyone's smiling, and it went away. Was I still bothered and angry for about 3 days? Yeah, because I didn't get my hit, but at the end of the day,
watching YouTube videos of people jumping out, going,
I literally was, but that it dealing with the lows and learning how to deal with it, and don't let me fool you. I'm still learning, but it's just being able to understand.
Man, I thought by the time I got 9 years sober, I would be like some sort of exalted like Buddha or something. It's not the case.
No, so you're coming up on 10?
Coming up on 9 years. Yeah.
Okay.
9 years, October 12th.
Wow. Wow. Let's take our last break this hour. When we come back, call in, share some stories if you want. 661-399-1560. I haven't really opened the lines up for phone calls just because we've been having a good conversation, but feel free to call in anytime. If you guys want to comment, ask Zach any questions about his organization, you got a question for Robbie, you want to talk about anything related to sobriety, dogs, anything, give us a call. 661-399-1560. This is CHADMAN on Danger Zone, KNZR.
KNZR.
This has been a fun show so far.
You know it's gonna get dark when we cue the Kendrick Lamar.
We're going to a whole new level right now. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan. I love it, and he's a positive rapper.
Yeah, for sure.
The positive rapper. He doesn't. For the longest time in the rap community, especially in the '90s, it was all that gangster rap. It was all that hardcore rap. People would beef with each other. But now, and rap's like my second favorite genre, of music. But Kendrick Lamar brings a positive message in all his songs, and it's hard to explain to people who don't listen to rap because rap has that image. It's got that gangster mentality to it. It's got that vibe to it, that street vibe. So if someone who doesn't listen to rap, they don't want to hear that. But then when you start, playing Kendrick Lamar, or there's other guys out there, and they start hearing the positive message behind it, more often than not, they can
There's
roll
some
with
amazing. I mean, it's poetry, man. There's some amazing lyricists out there. There's also some. This is legendarily awful rap music out there that I don't understand for the life of me.
No.
And I just want to. I feel like the old guy who wants to pull the kids aside and be like, that crap that you're listening to these days.
I am that guy. I find myself this. Oh man.
It's so awful, and that's the stuff that goes like next level stratosphere. Is that stuff that has no lyrical content, and it's just a guy going, "Yo,
yeah,
yo,"
or just saying the same thing over and over and over again. It irks me that
we get it. Your ring costs $100,000.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
I just move on to something else.
They make millions of dollars saying the same thing over and over and over again, and it's like,
I just want to be like, little do you know you're going to be broke in 3 years.
They are. They are. It's like NFL players, man. So Robbie, what's your daily routine like, man?
So
you're working up there at the ranch. Now, where's the ranch at? It's up here.
Tehachapi.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your daily routine? Because you're the manager over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now we just had it for about a month now. So we're trying to get set up. We're looking for donations to help us build. We have a 90 by 40 barn, and we're getting kennels set up in it. But right now we have to get our license to.
Yeah, our conditional use permit. So. Big shout out to Michael Nightingale from Nitro Fan. He's been hooking us up. He's been up there working hard. We got all the nuts and bolts. We got the bare bones of something special. We just got to make it happen. So it's got a 4-bedroom house and a 40 by 90 barn on 20 acres. We're right next to CCI Tehachapi, the state prison. We couldn't be in a better spot. The neighborhood we're in is great. We're right off the 202, and really what we need now is just help. We need help fundraising and getting carpenters to help us build our kennels and concrete cutters, and we need a tractor desperately. If anyone's out there that has a tractor,
I think I might know a guy like what kind of tractor?
A big tractor. We have a lot of land
brush hog on it
to plow under. I mean, we're trying to change the world. We're really trying to create a community center.
I'll talk.
That was subliminal. Bo Howard.
Yeah, I'll talk to my skydiving mentor. I mean, this guy's changed my life.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you think about it, Bo Howard done for me what Zach's done for you with skydiving. But
awesome.
Yeah, I'll talk to him, man. I think because he's out there cleaning Skydive Taft.
Cool. That's where my free dive is from, man. I've been.
You got to get out there, Robbie.
Robbie,
would you ever be interested in jumping out of an airplane?
Yeah, I'll do it.
You do it?
Yeah,
all right, man. You'll do it. Let's do this.
I would love to do it.
Let's do it. Marley's Mutts, Comrade in the Canopies, like an event.
Let's bring it together, man.
That would be
You heard
awesome.
it here first. Let's make it happen.
That would be so fun, man.
Yeah.
So you're out there, daily grind. You're out there taking care of it. Do the dogs have like an area they get to run around at?
Yeah, we have a dog park. We take some of the harder cases up there that need extra love and affection. We pull some of the hardest dogs out of Kern County and bring them up there and rehabilitate them. And we just started a new project. You want to talk about that, Zach?
Yeah,
the final gift.
Let's wait until we get back.
Yeah, sure.
The music's hitting and we get back.
Cued.
So you got the. I've learned in my military experience that sometimes when you give somebody responsibility, it makes them a better person.
Oh heck yeah!
It instead of punish somebody, give them responsibility and watch them change.
And there's a lot this man
That's
right
very
here can
true.
handle. He can handle a lot. It's just a matter of giving it to him.
That's a good deal. All right, man. Second hour's wrapped up. When we come back, call in 661-399-1560. You guys got questions for any of us? You want to talk about dogs? You want to ask Robbie a question? Talk to me about whatever. Phone lines are now officially open. Coming back for one more hour. This is CHADMAN on Danger Zone. Hey, a big shout out to Christy, Zach, not Zach Skow, but Zach, you know who you are. Lily, Richard, Wes, Bill, Kyle, and Glenn, thank you for your comments. This is a great show. We enjoy it. You know, I love radio, and I don't know if you listen to podcasts. Are you guys
I do, yes.
What are some of your favorite podcasts?
I listen to Rich Roll. I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen to Mark Maron.
Yeah, I love Mark Maron, and Joe Rogan's my favorite, hands down. John Carlin's History. You listen to any podcast? You should try it out, man. You should try it out. There's some good ones out there. And today's kind of got that podcast vibe to it. And I think one thing I learned in radio when I first came in is like you're always looking at the calls or people calling in. And I think the old school mentality about doing radio is if you're not getting any calls, then no one's listening. But people are listening because what we're talking about here is something very real. And it's something that a lot of people maybe don't pay enough attention to in dealing with inmate recovery. I think inmate recovery in America, not just California, not just Kern County, is something that's overlooked because there's a lot of people who look at inmates and ex-felons. Is it ex-felons? What's the proper term? Is it felons in general? So when they look at felons, it's like, well, you're trash. You know, you're a failed citizen. You know what I mean? You know, we're not going to give you any attention. But I think it's extremely important because you're being on probation or parole or whatever. You're getting back into society, and you deserve that second chance. I think that everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody does. Third and fourth chances, not so much.
There's a few important things you're talking about there. I mean, one, when I walk into prison and I share with inmates, or when I look around, I am struck with the brutal realization that I could be any one of those guys. That there are plenty of things that I've done in my life that could have landed me where they are. Plenty of things. Whereas one half of a decision left or right that would have put me exactly where they are. So I am ever aware of that, and that takes any of the judgment or any of the predisposition out of it. And secondly, when it comes to inmates, a lot of people say to us, "Wow, we'd rather spend our money on children's services or on this or that."
Which I can understand their stance on that.
But when it costs $50,000 a year to incarcerate an inmate in California, there is an astronomical amount of inmates incarcerated. So every one of those guys times 50,000. That's what I make as an executive director of a nonprofit, organization. And for all those guys who are released, those violent criminals, within 3 years they're going to be back in prison. 80% recidivism. So 80% of those guys within 3 years are going to be back in prison.
That's tragic.
Where they cost.
What's the number one reason do you think that is, Robbie? Like,
they just can't function with society. There's not enough doors open for them. People, it's like they just get put back into something that they know nothing about. Like, there's really no help of them getting to the next level when they're leaving prison. They're just throwing them back out there with no skills.
It's like
they have skills. They have skills to be better criminals and better
because they can network in there.
Right. It's like guys. I see a lot of guys get out the military and they get their honorable discharge. And they're like, I'm glad I'm out, and then within 2 or 3 years, they're back in, or like they re-enlist, they go back. That's really interesting to me because you see that with the inmate culture, is that they're in and out of prison because it's all they know.
I think a lot of guys want to, when they get out of prison, they're not telling themselves that they're going to get entrenched with crime again, and they're going to end back in prison. I know a lot of them, as soon as they get out, they don't ever want to come back. But we don't set them up for success. We don't set them up emotionally. We don't set them up physically. And there aren't many options. So guys are sculpted in prison to become better criminals. So if they don't have any options, they're going to fall back on that option of being a criminal. You know.
What's it like when you get out? Because is it like the movies where they just open the gate and the guard says, all right, Max, see you later. And then like the guy walks out with the bag and he just...
I was in the parking lot of Cal City 3 months ago, and I watched a dude with a shaved head and a wife beater and basketball shorts on and flip-flops walk out of the front gates with a clear plastic bag, and 2 of his homies met him in the parking lot. One had a 40, and I stood there and watched that guy, and I just went like, oh my God.
You'll be back.
Yeah.
You'll be back.
And he's probably been in for, many years. And,
in and out.
And that was it. He got released. I mean, they'll either ship you by bus or by different means to where your family is if no one can be there to meet you. But for the most part, you were...
Oh, they do that. So if you got nobody waiting there to pick you up, then they'll bus you somewhere?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, what happened when you got out? Where did you...
So it was just like a culture shock. Like I was just...
They opened the gate and just let you out?
Yeah. And actually my stepmom came and picked me up. So it was just a big weight. Like you're just nervous. Like he was touching on, I think almost everybody that gets out is not planning to reoffend. Like I didn't have a thought about it. It's like starting a new life, and I feel 90% of the guys in there are really trying, but they come out here and people don't want to give them jobs. People don't want to give them a chance like you were talking about. And there's rent, there's insurance, there's cell phones, and they can't do it. So they go to they have kids, they have families, and they make money the only way they know how. And it's sad, but it's just setting them up for failure, just throwing them back there with all the debts that society makes them have.
There should be, I think personally, that there should be a federal rehabilitation program for inmates. I think they're entitled to that. But I mean, I could already hear people screaming at the radios right now saying no.
It's a big deal, man. I mean, this country is about second chances. Our culture is about second chances, but we're also, for whatever reason, about divisively separating one another, and we like to be angry at people, and we like to malign certain groups, and we like to, and it's because we judge other people based on what we feel inside about ourselves. So we give people a hard time about being criminals because we don't feel good about ourselves. It makes us feel better to degrade and to lower an inmate for being an inmate because we don't feel good about ourselves. If we felt comfortable and confident in ourselves, we would be a lot more open to being loving and understanding and empathetic. Just empathetic. That's all you need to be.
Right.
Is try and understand what circumstances someone's coming from. I'm not asking you to co-sign what crime they committed. I'm not asking you to forgive them even necessarily. I'm just asking you to humanize them. Look at them like human beings experiencing the human experience just like you are, who make mistakes. And a lot of them don't come from the situation where opportunities were afforded them. I mean, I would say 95% of our guys don't have fathers. They come from very poor neighborhoods. Tragic. And the vast majority of them also have, gang enhancements. So they got 9 years tacked onto their sentence because they committed the crime while involved in a gang. If it was just me doing the crime, I wouldn't have those 9 years tacked on because I committed it with white kids from Hermosa. You know what I mean? So it's real different, and there's a real double standard to. And I'm not advocating gang affiliation or anything like that, but we got to look at rehabilitation. I mean, we're part of the innovative grant program through the state of California. So our program at 2 of the prisons is being supported by the state of California. They've taken a look at our dog program and they want it to succeed. So they've helped us get it going at North Kern and Wasco. So those programs are active now. We're helping rescue dogs, rescuing people, man. But it needs to be in every prison. It needs to be in as many as possible, and there needs to be other means for rehabilitation because these guys really don't have much of anything. There's a few programs, and they'll learn how to weld, they'll learn how to cut hair, they'll learn how to do a few things, but they are woefully unprepared for real life and all the coping that goes with it on the outside.
Well, I think the stimulation that we get on a daily basis with our cell phones, our TVs, the airwaves, everything around us, the Wi-Fi networks, everything, you don't get that in prison, I would imagine.
It's real busy out here, and in there it's just like a set schedule every day, a routine, and you get thrown into craziness, and it's just wild out here.
It is. Hey, Richard, line 1, what do you got, brother?
Well, I got into an altercation over a custody dispute with my first daughter when I was real young, right after she was born. And I went to prison over it, and it was the aggravated assault. But they first didn't want to give me 17 years. And I waited it out. It was a custody dispute. My kid, you've got something I own. It's mine. And finally they dropped it to the lower term, which was like 12 months, and then gave me work furlough. But You know, you can get caught up in something so fast. You know, somebody pushes and pushes and pushes, and then pretty soon you're the one that's wrong. And, yeah, rehabilitation is important, but now they want to give me what they call a letter of vindication. It's like a pardon, like Merle got, you know. You abused me, you took advantage of me, and now you want me just to forget that it happened, you know. It's like, you know, prison, I guess, is necessary, and we are very lenient here. But when you talk about blood relatives, private property, kids, the Hague International Treaty on Child Custody is every 24 hours the opposing party in the divorce doesn't see their child as considered an international kidnap.
Huh, interesting.
It's called the International Tribunal on Child Custody at The Hague. And,
how long have you been out?
I mean?
Yeah.
Almost 30 years. She was only 2 months old. She grabbed the kid and ran. My family's wealthy. My family was Reagan's secretary and wrote the nuclear proliferation plan for Russia peace treaty for Ronald Reagan. But my family has money, you know, and she saw that in my family, and she stuck around until she got pregnant and then hauled ass. And now the state wants to send me a letter saying we're sorry.
Well,
you know?
Well, I wish you the best of luck, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for the phone call, brother.
Right, we'll see you.
Okay, so anyways, thanks for sharing that, Richard. I appreciate it. It's difficult, though, to get back into society. I can imagine.
Yeah.
It can. So I commend you for it. So, Zach, you were recently, Marley's Mutts was recently on TV. You're always on TV. Yeah. But what was the recent thing you guys got?
We were on the Hallmark Channel, your favorite show. I
didn't even know there was a Hallmark Channel.
Most veterans actually flock to the Hallmark Channel.
I'm going to now.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
No, I'm not dogging it. I never even knew there was. My wife's like, "You never heard of this?" I said, "No," but
it's called the Home and Family Show. We've been on it like 6 times, I think, and they're good people, man. We did the Hooch, our dog, one of our dogs who had his tongue cut out.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, man, he's alive and well.
Okay, because
oddly enough, we're adding another tongueless dog today. A dog whose tongue either got cut out or ripped out or somehow. Ended up at the Cal City shelter, so that dog's coming to us today also.
How does a dog without a tongue eat
or
drink?
We feed him by hand. So he sits and we moisten his food and then we feed him by hand. He drinks like a horse kind of. He sticks his whole face in the bowl and creates the suction. And he's prone to overheating because he can't, there's a few things you got to be careful about. You got to make sure he doesn't aspirate his food and stuff like that. But for the most part, he's like the happiest dog on the planet. But he won the 2016 American Humane Hero Dog Award.
Really?
So we were up against military working dogs. We're up against arson investigation dogs. There was this big competition between 8 categories. Mm-hmm. And Hooch won it in large part because the Mutt militia, who are our followers.
Yeah, I got a shirt. Thank you.
Yeah, are just gangster.
My wife got a shirt too, and it's a V-neck. Thank you very much. She's going to love that.
So yeah, man. So we they host that award show on TV, and so we were just back there talking about our positive change program, trying to get some love, man. Harry Connick Jr. was on the show, so we got to try and holler at him to get some support. We're in danger of losing our Corcoran program because we don't have money. We have to fund it. It all gets funded by us, private, and we have to come up with the money. And it's $120,000 a year to operate these 2 programs. It's $1,000 a week for each program, and we have 4. A couple of them we have assistance with, but
devastating.
2 of them we have to pay for ourselves. So anybody that's listening out there, whether you're a politician or a business leader or somebody who likes what you hear, what we're talking about in rehabilitation and bringing dogs into no-kill or high-kill shelter dogs into prisons and rehabilitating both inmate and dog, we need help because Corcoran, they said it couldn't be done at Corcoran. They said those are the bad boys. They have however many incidents a day. You can't bring a dog program into a level 4 180 facility, and we did it. And it's been incredibly transformative, and it's done a lot for the yard. It's done a lot for the pod, for the whole block, and I really want to keep it there. Those are the guys that need us the most, and we just need help raising money. So if you want to go to marleysmutts.org, you can donate to our organization and help keep the Corcoran's program alive because, man, they really need it. And to watch, a lot of those guys are lifers. A lot of those guys have been in for a long time, and to watch the culture shift and watch love let in because these guys are also racially, they don't ever interact with one another in prison. This is a totally new thing for them to be bonding.
Is it really like that? Yeah. Honestly,
worse than you would imagine.
So what would a guy like me, my last name Garcia, I'm not necessarily Mexican per se, but I'm not really white.
Well, tell them about you. Tell them about who you identify with when you're in prison.
I ran with the Mexicans in there.
You did.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's whatever you want to be in there, really.
We talk so much during the week on Kane's Yard and national radio and TV shows about identifying, gender identification, racial identification, but in prison,
it's where you come from too. So Robbie came from a gang where he ran with mostly Mexicans. So from Chicanos.
So obviously, but I can't imagine white guys walking into a prison and say, "I identify as a black man." That ain't happening.
You probably have.
That's probably going to be a real harsh scenario.
Wow, that's funny. That's
But
something.
the way they've done it in our dog program is, in order to make the program, Bonita Weaver, who's the captain on the yard, she's a great lady. She really helps us keep the peace. Because, I mean, we've been there where there's been stabbings, there's a race riot, there's been a lot of things happening while we've been there or right beforehand. So there's different things that are happening. Not race riot, but there was a conflict between races, between Asians and blacks. It was not a race riot. I misspoke. When I'm telling the stories, it sounds better if you say race riot.
Yeah, I'm just.
But
I got a lot of jokes coming.
So she composed our program of all gang members. So in order to make the program flow in the pod, in order to make it successful, we had to enroll Crips, Bloods, Black Gorilla Family, Bulldogs, Aryans, the others. The Asian gangs are called the others.
They're called the others.
Yeah. So get them involved so that we had representatives from each affiliation, so that we could, succeed in the pod.
And how's that worked
so much
out?
Politics. Great. It's been real good. I mean, other than we had that black Asian issue, then those guys had to sit out that week. But other than that, it's been terrific.
What if like a Hindu guy, like an Indian, Pakistani guy goes to jail? Who does he go with?
I haven't seen one yet. We have Native Americans. We have natives.
There's natives. I can imagine.
I tend, like, if he was a Muslim, there's a Muslim group in there. So
really?
Yeah.
Mostly black. The Muslim groups are
mostly black Muslims?
Yeah.
I've always wondered about, like, Asians, obviously, but I've always wondered, like, what if, like, a Hindu guy go, like, it's got to be difficult. You get an Indian guy, like, from India, like, who's this guy going to roll with?
There's probably a very limited amount of Sikhs.
I could imagine. They're good people.
Yeah.
I mean, all races are good people, but that's neat. So you've actually had a community of different
We've
gangs
had so
and
many
groups.
people where you look at them and go, white guys with 100% tattooed on their forehead, and a swastika tattooed here and there, and you're going, man, this is going to be tough. What's going to happen here? I mean, one of our guys is like the epitome of a white supremacist. You look at him and you go, yep, this guy's going to cause problems. And he is we call him the prophet. He is by far our best trainer. He is by far the most racially harmonious. He establishes a symbiotic, vibe that is conducive to training within races. And he loves his brothers. And he calls them brothers, and he refers to them as brothers. He doesn't care what race you are, and that is something that does not.
But does that change? Does that
prison.
change when he gets back in the yard, and like when he gets back into?
No. I mean, they see what he does. The yard. Oftentimes, we do our dog demonstrations right next to the yard, so everybody that's on the yard, and a lot of those guys will be yelling in, talking smack, saying this or that, or whatever. Talking if one of the guys has a chihuahua, giving him a hard time or whatever. But that's often, they see them. They see what they're doing. They see who they're working with, and they're open about it. And that's one of the most, heartwarming things about it.
That's fascinating to me. We got to take a break. I went over. Ooh, see, I'm not even looking at the clock. Man, we're sitting here. I enjoy that. Let's come back and talk a little bit more about events you got coming up. And I want to talk more about the no-kill Kern and the numbers related to that.
Let's do it.
And phone lines are open. If you guys call in, got questions, man, I know it's a good conversation. You guys might be a little hesitant to call in, but listen, call, whatever you want to do. I love this show. It's a great conversation on Danger Zone. 97.7 FM, 1560 AM, KNZR.
KNZR, Bakersfield's talk radio leader.
Welcome back to Danger Zone. I love this job, everybody. And Zach loves what he's doing at Marley's Mutts. And Robbie, I know you're loving this new lifestyle you got, man. I dig it. Do you communicate with guys that are still inside? I mean, do you have people that you talk to that you met and you were close with, or did you like leave and cut all ties? I mean, how's that work?
I mean, a lot of them, like, sad to say is, man, they're still stuck in that thing. So once in a while, I'd go out with them and provide a positive influence on them to show them that I can work and not have to look over my shoulder every day.
Yeah, tell them what you were doing before you came to us. It's kind of important.
Oh yeah. So when I first started, after I got the dog, Shadow from him, all I was a guy that knew how to love dogs.
Right.
And out here it was hard, so I moved back with my family in Oklahoma, and I went to a sanctuary where I was taking care of 150 dogs where I lived on the facility. And
Wow.
so I learned a lot of stuff there. So, you know, all this stuff, like when he was saying, it's happening for a reason. And I was able to learn about doing hospice care on dogs and giving vaccines and rabies and microchipping. And I learned how to do all that stuff. So when I got back to Zach, I could provide him something, you know. And
Right. So you were already skilled in the trade. You didn't have to be trained in anything. You already knew it. You were natural with it.
yeah.
That's awesome, man. What about social media? Do they get social media in prison? I mean, you were telling me about
You're
cell
not supposed to
phones.
have
Yeah.
a phone, so they
Yeah.
do when they have phones.
Do they have computer?
but
they have computer labs in the.
You have to be careful when you're, because, you know, when I was in prison, I wasn't a saint the whole time. It took me about 9 years. I was living the prison politics because there's a lot of them in there. But at the 9th year, I was just like, I was tired. I was watching 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds throwing up gang signs. And I was like, man, there's got to be more than life than this, man. I'm not going to be this guy right here. I'm not going to be that guy. You know, I have to
Man.
grow up and be responsible. And
Yeah, you want to do something with your life.
yeah,
You know?
I don't want to be in here for the rest of my life acting like kids, and it's a
Yeah,
bad
and that's
place.
what it is too. It's just acting like kids.
high school. You know, people cut in front of you, look at you the wrong way. You know, it's gonna start. You could be just drinking your morning coffee, and your friend doesn't want to pay a gambling bet, and it turns into a riot. And it's just it's very horrible, and I want it
is-
out of there.
Yeah, that's chaotic. Flo, line 1. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing okay, Chad. Great show, great show. You really hit home with me today, and I was just curious if you're if they have a program up in Solano, up near Vacaville.
We don't. A couple of our inmates just transferred up to Solano. My boy McDaniel, who I call, we call him the Black Caesar, after the Black Caesar moron.
Well,
But we don't have.
that's awesome because my son is up there, and he got 4 years 2 years ago, and of course, I won't mention his name or anything, but it's
Our goal is to transfer is to create programs in as many California, state penitentiaries as possible. We want to create kind of a franchisable version of what we're doing, and we have the curriculum, we have homework every week, we have a really well thought out program that we are able to bring into other facilities. We just have to get the financial infrastructure to be able to do so, and that means the state. That means being sponsored by organizations and by the public, and that means getting state sponsorship. Because if we look at this from a dollars and cents tax perspective, if the state is spending $50,000 a year on one inmate, if we're going to prevent even a couple of those guys from going into prison, going back into prison, we're saving the state and the taxpayers money. And I know our program is having a profound effect on multiple guys and just on the culture in prison.
I believe it. Yes.
From a dollars and cents standpoint, it makes a 1,000,000% sense, and it's just a matter of convincing politicians and getting some support, whether it's from Congressman McCarthy, Shannon Grove's always been really supportive of what we do. I haven't touched base with her on this program in particular, but this is something that could really save the state a lot of money if we get it into every prison, and also really drive down the incidents per facility. It will lessen the violence quotient within the facility, and that's what it's done at our places.
Well, the reason this hits home is because his nickname is Rancher, and before he was incarcerated, he raised German Shepherds and lambs when he gets out, he will be coming down here to Kern County to me. So I just wondered what kind of programs we had down here, and something I could get him to look forward to, because that's what
We're always looking for
what he
ways to
does.
get guys involved, and I, obviously I'm sitting next to my little brother here who was incarcerated. I don't have any prejudices towards people who've been incarcerated, nor does anyone I work with. So part of creating the Marley's Mutts Rescue Ranch and it is to create a canine community center where everyone is welcome, you know, regardless of age, you know, color, creed, breed, whatever,
Right.
you know. So
Right.
we it's just a matter of us, you know, if you build it, they will come, right? Like Field of Dreams, and we've got the place. We just need to continue to elaborate on it and build the dream. So
I agree. I think it's wonderful. Thank you, CHADMAN, for putting this on today because it is. I'll be getting online and finding out about.
Yeah, no problem. And this is being recorded too. I record all the shows now, and I'll be uploading it on Facebook and sharing it. I'll get a YouTube link so that we can share this, and so anybody who is interested in anything that we've talked about can listen. So as soon as I do that, are you on social media, Flo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I don't know if we're friends on Facebook, but if you just look up Chad Garcia, send me a friend request, and I'll also add the YouTube link to Kane's the Artist page, okay?
All right, I want to say one more thing.
Anything.
Say hi to Garrett for me.
No problem. No problem.
Okay.
I will. Okay, take care. See ya.
All right,
Bye,
thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so that's awesome, man. So what are some of the events that you guys got? Actually, you know what? Let's take our break. It's 11:34. I've gone over again. I'm pulling an Inga today. Going over like Inga. That's a little jab at my sister. All right, so let's take our break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the events you have, and I want to hear more about the Hallmark thing.
Let's do it.
Because you briefly touched on it. But are those recorded? Can people DVR those
Yeah.
and watch those?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. It's on, I imagine, on demand. All right,
Sure is.
take a bottom of the hour break. It's CHADMAN on Danger Zone. A little bit of Slipknot on a Sunday. It's all right. Psychosocial. This song by Slipknot is called Psychosocial. And he's talking about doing time. Not necessarily behind bars, but just doing time in his own mind. A lot of people are listening, they can't understand what he's saying, and I'm talking over it. But being psychosocial, you know, not being able to adapt. It's a good song, man. It's a good song. Being able to adapt. A lot of people who've never been incarcerated, a lot of people who've never joined the military, they don't understand. And this isn't a slap at anybody. I'm just saying, like I just think a lot of people, not majority, but there's a lot of people who don't understand just how good life is here, not only in America, but just in general. When you're not in the military or incarcerated or living under a tyrannical government, whatever, you know, the freedoms that you have on a daily basis to sleep in, to not worry about walking out front of your door and getting shot or stabbed, or, you know, I mean, there's communities, obviously Chicago's a big one, where Chicago's a war zone. I don't care who you are.
Chirac.
Yeah, it is Chirac. But it being able to be open about, hey, look, I made some mistakes, I was incarcerated, and now I'm trying to make my life better again. I think you're setting the example for a lot of people out there who
It can be done, man.
it can be done.
You
It
need,
can be done.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
you need a support system, and like if people are willing to help, it's a lot easier.
Being a sober veteran, they're out there, but being a sober combat vet, dealing with PTSD, dealing with, you know, guilt and stuff, I'm a small majority, man, and it's not always easy because veterans, they drink, you know, and every veteran event I go to, there's alcohol flowing, and it's hard because I don't want to like come off as the guy that's saying, don't do this. But I do want to tell vets out there that are like, look, man, you don't need to be putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to adapt. There's ways to make life good and to adjust to society without having to, you know, drown yourself in substance abuse. And I found my niche in radio, man. And without my niche, without my passion, I wouldn't be here talking to you about yours, Zach. I wouldn't be here talking to you about what you're doing. That dog has not moved. Is it alive?
Yes, but it's amazing that
That
You
dog
got-
is in heaven on him, man.
you got dogs, right? And,
Yeah, I got 4.
and every
A
walk
handful.
of life we can relate.
All
Dude,
all four dogs had different personalities, man. I got our little princess, our Chihuahua. She's tiny. I got her mom, which is my fat girl, Mia. The little girl's name's Miney. Mia. Max died 2 years ago. I had to tattoo him on my shoulder right here. He died. He was my OG, man. He
That's awesome.
coolest dog ever. Tattooed my dog on my shoulder. He meant that much.
I got my Marley right here, man.
Yeah, you have to. You know, it sucks, man. My daughter. So I got my third dog. Let me rewind. I got my third dog, which is a. You might be able to help me tell what she is. She's definitely Doberman, but there's something in her. She's a blue Doberman, so her eyes are like light tan, gorgeous dog, and like a nice coat. But she's small, so I don't know what she's mixed with. And then and her name's Khaleesi because we're Game of Thrones fans. Yeah. And then I got my my Dutch Shepherd, who's massive, and he's Hulk. But Max died because when I got Khaleesi, she's really hyper, extremely hyper, and Max is old. He's an OG. He's old, man. He couldn't handle that, and she gave him a stroke because they'd go outside and she'd be all crazy, and he had a stroke, and we had to put him down, and that was so hard on us because he was my son. He was my son. That wasn't my dog. He was my son.
Yeah.
See, when you're talking about the dogs right now, I see your face just lighting up.
Yeah.
Man, it's like dogs are medicine, and people like, I've tried faith, everything.
Yeah.
But dogs work for me. And, if you're having a rough time looking to get in a dog, rescue one.
I'm not the greatest at taking care of them. My wife obviously would be considered the pack leader. Yeah. I'm more lenient. I'm like, I'm definitely more lenient. But just I want, Anakin, my 2-year-old, crazy kid, man, wild child. Khaleesi, that's his dog. They're both wild. My 9-month-old, he's a tank. Kid eats, and Hulk is just growing. So we each kind of have our own dog. Mia's mine, and they're all my wife's. But my daughter asked me last week. She goes, "Dad, can you bring Max's ashes to my graduation?" Because I wanted Max. I don't care if he died the day after she graduated. I wanted him to see her graduate.
That's awesome.
That's not happening, so we're bringing the ashes, and he's going to be there with us.
That's cool.
The connection that people have with their dogs is just, they truly are man's best friend.
We had Marley spread all over the world. So
Oh,
we
you
had
did?
Different people. Yeah, I took him out to Free to Live in Oklahoma when he was working out there. We spread his ashes there. We spread his ashes in Mammoth, which is like one of our favorite places.
Michigan.
We spread them in Michigan. We spread them in Thailand because we do work with Soy Dog Foundation in Thailand, bringing dogs back from the meat trade. Yeah, we spread them all over the place.
It's hard when they go. It's really hard.
But I also I did it sober, and I felt every second of it. I felt every part of it, and that's what I needed. Again, I never felt. Sometimes in death can be some of our most lively moments. When you're experiencing death, when you're mourning properly, when you're crying, when you're giving yourself the grace to be able to do all that stuff, to just feel it. That's when you're really connected. That's when I really feel like I was so proud of myself, and I'm not proud of myself very often. But when Marley passed, and I was able to feel that and write about it and post about it and share it with people and share what I was feeling and be sober the whole way and not think. That was when I didn't think about doing drugs or taking a drink when I lost Marley and being there for his last breath. I really felt that empowered me. That felt like, all right, if I can do this, I can do anything. From an emotional standpoint.
I got a question for you guys. So Hulk's fixed. He's neutered. That's the right term, right?
Yeah.
They get neutered, right? I don't know if it differences from
debald is not correct.
Debald. I didn't know if it was different for males and females, but anyways, he's definitely half the man he used to be when he came into this world. But my wife doesn't want me to take him to a dog park because he'll see other dogs lifting his leg, and he's not lifting his leg right now when he pees. And so is that true? Will he pick that up?
I think the benefits far outweigh the potential consequences. I mean, potentially your dog could come home with mimicking other dogs that are lifting their legs, but that's something that you could easily, eliminate. You could nip it in the bud when it happens. You certainly don't want to deprive a dog of a dog park of that play, because play is so critical for dogs. They need to be able to get out and play.
I think I want to take him today.
Yeah, and just get him out there. And if he comes home and starts, timing is everything. You can't punish a dog. You shouldn't be punishing your dogs, period. But you can't teach a dog if the moment is past. You have to be in the moment. So if he lifts his leg, you just got to follow him around. Maybe keep a leash on him so you can give a correction right when he goes to do it, as opposed to,
He thinks he's a Chihuahua, man. This giant dog. He's 8 or 9 months old, and he's 70 pounds. He's big. Yeah, and he jumps on the couch like he's a Chihuahua. And he lays on our bed.
It's all he sees, right?
It's all he sees, and it's just... Oh man, it's definitely my life. My daily life is definitely
We have a
stressful.
little thugged out, little stubby pit bull. He's just a bully of bullies. He looks like Brian Urlacher. He's got like a 30-inch neck. We can't even get a collar on him. He looks like he's been injected with steroids his entire life. And
What's his personality like?
He's hilarious. We thought he was going to be a problem, because he's got all these scars all over his face, fresh scars. Like he's been.
Was he a fighting dog? Oh,
he's got his cropped ears. He's a pit bull, and he's a huge, chunky pit bull. And we thought this guy might be a problem, but we'll take him. And he's been outstanding. He's just been terrific. We've only had him for a week, but he's been.
Does he got the walk going on?
Oh, he waddles, and then we turn him on he goes on his back to be pet on his belly, and then he can't get up because he's so fat. He tries to like wiggle his way up. It's funny.
That's funny, man. So what events do you got coming up?
We got a big one, Paws and Pearls, September 30th. Paws and Pearls is our black tie, Bakersfield black tie, whatever that is, event. We're having it September 30th. You can go to marleysmutts.org to find out more. But we're going to have a whole bunch of really cool auction items. We're going to share on different programs and talk about different things that we're getting into and doing. And we're going to try and raise a lot of money for the ranch. That's our goal. We got to we are hurting for certain from a financial standpoint with all that we have going on. Trying to make Kern County no kill has been a tremendous, financial.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's going great, man.
Is it true that we cut it in half from what it was some time ago? What are the
when
numbers?
I first started, it was above 80%, and now it's dropped into around 40. So definitely making a lot of progress. The city shelter over there, headed by Julie Johnson, is doing a great job. Nick Cullen at Kern County Animal Services, that's who we work with most of the time. And so Nick and Angela and Lisa and everybody over there, those are our people. So we're there every week, several times a week. We probably pull, at least half a dozen dogs a week out of there.
That's where Holt came from.
Yeah, probably a dog a day. And that's just that's what our focus is getting dogs dogs with no hope out of no-kill shelters and giving them some hope and involving a lot of people in the process, trying to get the community involved. And because it's triumph, man. These are stories of triumph. And if you follow it on social media and you watch something go from, it's kind of like our own stories. All three of us have these kind of these stories from dark to light, and watching these stories of these dogs is like watching true triumph, and they teach you a lot in the process because they don't carry resentment, they don't carry a lot of the human burdens that we carry emotionally, and so they can teach us a lot in how to face the world and how to cope and how to get through it all.
I know all four of mine dogs do it. It's hard. Like I said, I'm not the best. My wife's definitely the pack leader, but I love Hulk. He's so big. When I'm laying on my couch and he brings his big ass up to me and he just flops on me, it's like, you're not a Chihuahua. Like get down.
We got one like that now too, named Eloise.
Eloise?
She's a Saint Bernard.
Oh wow.
She's about 70 pounds underweight with no hair.
Whoa.
Yeah. She's got about.
I can't even picture that in my mind.
It's interesting looking, but she's coming around. She's getting a lot better. She was in kidney failure when we got her, and now she's But she the same thing. When we watched the fight last night, she was just in Robbie's lap, or trying to be in Robbie's lap the whole time. Didn't move.
What do you guys think about that? You guys watched it?
Yeah, I watched it. I thought we thought the consensus we came to is that Connor, from a strategic standpoint, should have just thrown down for 3 rounds. Yeah. He should have known that all he's got is at tops 5 rounds, that he's not conditioned to fight 10 rounds. So if he would have just come out like he did in the first round and just laid some leather on him, he would have had a chance.
He played Mayweather's game, going all the distance, and Mayweather's mastered that art.
Yeah,
he had nothing on those punches, man. He was just tapping him. Nothing on those punches.
There was
From
nothing.
the fifth round on, he was throwing nothing behind it. And you watched how he throws punches. He wasn't getting any leverage on anything. He wasn't dipping down. He wasn't using his waist. He was just using his upper body.
He was flat-footed.
Yeah.
It was awkward. I knew in the 5th round, I said, "Yeah, this isn't good."
I wish they would have let the fight.
He even said in the post-fight interview, he's like, he should let you shouldn't have stopped it. Should have let him knock me down.
Yeah, totally.
I love those guys, man. I don't love Mayweather, but I love what he's done with his career, man. He's a defensive fighter, and it's not sexy, it's not attractive. There's not much to it, but he'll watch a guy. He'll get beat up from 3 to 5 rounds, and then come out.
Just the idea that you can mentally, that your approach to fighting is to adjust to when someone is throwing a punch at you, that's when you react.
Right.
That instead of flinching or reacting to it, you go on the offensive.
Right.
Like that takes such an interesting mental acuity to be able to combat aggression with, it's
from a guy who can't even read.
Yeah.
The guy can't read, but it's like, okay, he can read a punch.
Yeah. That's
All right, we're going to take our last break of the hour, come back with some mandatory Metallica, and wrap up this show. Thank you, guys. This has been a great show.
I like it.
I come back every last break of the show, come back with Metallica. I'm a diehard Metallica fan, so I think you're going to like the one I picked out for today.
Nice.
All right, this is CHADMAN on Danger Zone, 97.7 FM, 1560 AM, KNZR.
KNZR.
Welcome to San Quentin. We're all excited you're here, staff and inmates alike. One thing I do have to tell you before you enter, the state has a no hostage policy. In the unlikely event that you are taken hostage, the state will not negotiate your release in exchange for the release of an inmate. Agree with that?
Welcome back to Danger Zone. This song on Mandatory Metallica is Saint Anger. They went to San Quentin prison and filmed this video.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, and I want to thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
This has been rad, man. So
been fun.
Every Sunday we'll see you here.
Yeah, every Sunday. You're always welcome here, man.
Yeah.
Danger Zone is open to you. I bring people in from all walks of life on Danger Zone. This isn't a political show. I tell people check your politics in at the door. We come in, we tell stories, we share stories, and hopefully someone out there is listening, and we can take something. I hope somebody listening right now. We had a couple callers, and they took a lot from what Robbie's story was and from what you guys are doing at Marley's Mutts. And that's what Danger Zone's all about. To me, that's what's dangerous about what I'm doing on talk radio.
Keeping it real.
Is that I'm keeping it very real. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to bring in, a former inmate who's changed his life around and express my view that I think there should be a national rehabilitation program.
Totally.
I think everybody deserves a second chance, So I appreciate you, and I commend you, and I thank you very much for coming on my show. And you're always welcome anytime. Zach, you're welcome.
Yeah,
brother.
man.
Thank you so much.
Let's organize an event, Comrades and Canopies / Marley's Mutts skydiving event.
Let's go jump out of some planes,
Let's
man.
go jump out of some
into it.
planes, raise some money for dogs. Would you do
totally
it?
into it.
Heck yeah.
You would do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have to do it when my husband's working in North Dakota because he'd kill me, but I would totally do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I would love, that sounds. I mean, what do we got to do? Let's
talk about it. Let's raise some money for dogs, and then maybe for every jump we do, we can auction off some. We'll talk about it. Maybe we can see how many jumps we could do in a weekend.
Let's do it soon.
Skydiving place, they brought some stray dogs into a spay and neuter clinic here.
Okay, yeah.
A couple months ago. Really nice guys.
Claudia and Layla are awesome, and I'm sure they're open for us doing that. I appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been fun, man. Thanks a lot.
enjoyed the
Thanks,
fact we got
Jack.
to be honest and open. I feel like I met a new friend, and best of luck in everything you do.
It's been
okay?
great watching you do you, man. You just been getting better every week, man.
I love it. I have fun. One more time, where can people contact Marley's Mutts and donate? And
Marley'sMutts.org. Marley'sMutts.org. You can find all your information at Marley'sMutts.org or follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Marley's Mutts. Pretty simple.
Awesome. And thank you so much again, man. It's been awesome. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks, Chad.
Mr. Whipple, thank you so much for operating the board and running everything for me. It's been great. Love working with you. Love your shirt. Dodgers all the way, man.
Dodgers.
They're going.
Yes.
This is their year.
Angels over here.
I got to be the only Angel fan in
Come
the room.
on.
Dodgers here.
What about that second wild card, baby? Come on.
Oh, man. I don't know about that. I just know that football season's coming up. I'm a Bengals fan. I don't know how it's going to go. I just want to see the Raiders succeed because I want to see a local guy go to the Super Bowl, and I think that's very, very pleasable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, are you a Raiders fan?
No.
He's a
Okay.
49ers fan, man.
49ers.
It's hard not to be a Raiders fan, though, you know, given what he's doing. It's hard not to be a Raiders fan, you know, and I would have thought I'd never say that in a million years.
It's hard not to be a Raiders fan.
Yeah, just because of what he's bringing and they have a sense of team. They're bringing something.
That's what I'm saying. I want to.
You know,
I want to watch.
Carr's got me fired up. I watch his pregame speeches. I watch how he gets in with the guys and he creates that camaraderie, that fellowship. Like,
No, I admire that.
Yeah, dude.
I admire it. Yeah,
I never thought I'd
that
say
guy's
that.
legit.
Yeah, he is, and I admire what he's doing, man. Most of all, I admire what you guys are doing. Thank you very much for everything you're
Thanks,
doing,
Chad.
man.
Thanks,
Positive influence, what it's all about. Stay vigilant, everybody. A new week is upon us. This is CHADMAN out.
1560 KNZR Bakersfield, 97.7 KNZR FM Shafter.